Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and let's reflect. So it's end of June actually, and that means that it's that wonderful time of the year where all of us freak out about our reading goals, about what we read, how much we read, was it even good quality, all of that good stuff. And most people post their mid-year freakout tag, and although I do like that tag, I wanted to do a little spin, add a couple of my own things to it, and I used some of the questions from the mid-year freakout tag to like guide what I want to talk to you about. But otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of go free, and we're gonna firstly talk about my stats because I really want to check in how I'm doing. I had a lot of ambitious goals, and then we're gonna like go into my favorite book, most anticipated books, all of that. I'm gonna put timestamps for all of the different questions and all of that so you can skip around if you like more section more than the other. But 2021, it's actually been a very good reading year. In my plans, I said that I wanted to read 100 books this year, so that's the big goal. I did read more last year. Like 100 is just like that's what would be fun, but I'm not like super married to it, and if I read more, great. Just to establish some things, today is 25th of June when I'm filming this, so all of the stats, all the books I'm going to talk about are going to be up till now. On the 25th, this is the situation. You're going to probably see this a little bit later, so just bear that in mind. Okay, this is so peak because I opened the wrong spreadsheet and it told me I read 121 books, and I was like, no, I didn't though. I didn't. Okay, as of June 25th, end of June, 6 months into the year 2021, I have read 59 books. 59 is really good. That means I'm ahead of schedule. I've got like 9 books ahead of schedule. I think it's more, like Goodreads says like 11 or something, but that is completely super awesome. I'm really happy with that. I've been having a really good month. I guess let's just talk about some stats. So as you can see, the best reading month I've had this year was February and March, but I actually think June's gonna surpass both of them because I am planning on reading at least 2 more books this month, like finishing hopefully, so that would make it 12. So June's so far the best one. I've been really enjoying like reading thrillers now, so I think that's why June is such a good month. Then when it comes to format, I have read literally 50% physical, 30% ebook, and 39% audio. So I've actually read the most book on audio. This is definitely because I ended up taking out Script subscription for the whole year, and that's really been really good because I try to go on a lot of walks, and what am I gonna do? I'm gonna listen to audiobooks. So the audiobook's been brilliant. Then when it comes to age category, it's 49% adults. So I read books I read most were adult, which is just crazy to me because last year I'm pretty sure it was like not like this at all, and I definitely wanted to read more. I think in my goals video I said I want to read 50-50, so this is pretty good because 47% is YA, and then a little bit, tiny little percent, which is 2 books, was new adult. So I think, you know, I'm really happy with that. Basically I got what I wanted. When you look at genres, I think that's where it's getting interesting and we can have a little chat. So basically, as you can see, 59% fantasy, and you know, I'm a mostly fantasy reader and that's fine, and I've been really enjoying what I read, but I've been getting into a little bit, maybe not a slump, but a little bit of just like uncomfortableness and just like about picking up fantasy books. I just feel like I've been reading a bit too many of them, so I actually want to work on that. And so I'm actually trying to read a little bit more different kinds of books. So I've been like getting into thrillers a lot. You can see that thriller is 8%, so that's really good, and another 8% was sci-fi, which I'm surprised. Yeah, non-fiction is 7%. I've actually been slipping on non-fiction, so the goal was to read 1 per month, and I've read 4 and we're 6 months in. I was doing really well in the beginning of the year and I'm not doing so well anymore, so I'm really hoping to improve that. Then also 7% horror, which I'm shocked because I don't read that much horror, but like I feel like what I've been picking up I've been really liking, so I'm hoping to, like, in the next couple months, you know, I always do a reading vlog that's themed, 1 a month, and I feel like that's always fantasy, so I'm trying to like try different things that are not fantasy for these vlogs, and maybe I'll have a little bit more fun. So like I said, 59% of the books I read were fantasy, but I also broke it down by the type of fantasy. So 42% of those were high fantasy. Then we have low fantasy at 18%. Like low fantasy, really historical, portal and urban are all part of low fantasy. I wanted to like break it down a little bit more. So if I didn't know what subgenre it would be into, I just put it in low fantasy. 15% urban fantasy, 12% portal fantasy, and 12% historical fantasy, which is cool to see. Another big goal of mine was to read more LGBTQ plus books, and I didn't track this last year, so I'm actually not sure how many I read. And I'm actually 30% of books I read, which was 18 books out of the 59, had LGBTQ plus characters, and I count that book LGBTQ plus if one of the main cast of characters, like primary or secondary, but important secondary character, is LGBTQ plus. So I'm really happy with that. I think that's good. I could definitely improve it. I definitely want to read a little bit more, especially in June. I feel like I've done a lot of improving because I read a lot of books because it was Pride Month. But I definitely want to get a little bit better, but I'm not upset because like I feel like 30% is good. Then when it comes to the source of my books, as you can see, 48% were my own books. So that means I purchased them. That could be ebook, audiobook, or a physical book, but it just means I bought them and I own them. What's nice to see is 39% is script, and that makes me feel good because that means I'm getting my money's worth. And then borrowed was a small percentage, and then library was decent. That's only 3 books. Normally I'd be better, but I only listen to audiobooks from the library because of the pandemic, and a gift were 2 books, so it's good to see. Then this one's an interesting one. Again, don't think I tracked it last year, but 79% of the books I read were traditionally published. 47 books that I read were traditionally published, and then 10 books were indie published, and self-published was 2. I wish I could read a bit more indie, but like, I don't know, I feel like I'm trying to hit so many different goals that it just makes it a little bit hard to like find books and stuff. And like the books I want to read don't necessarily hit all the goals. So it just has to be like, which goal do I want to hit? Or more like, what do I want to read? You know what I mean? Another statistic would be whether it was part of a series or a standalone or companion. So biggest percentage was part of series. I'm a series reader. I mean, fantasy mostly is series. I think I started a lot and I didn't finish any, so that's upsetting. 44% was standalone, which I'm actually really happy with. I definitely was not that much last year, although again I did not track it. But yeah, 40% standalones, I'm really happy with that. Now, lastly, I just wanted to talk about some stats for the authors. As you can see, 76% were she, her, and identified as female. It's so funny because 13% is men. That's it. I'm definitely more female driven reader, but I'm happy because I definitely needed to work a little bit more on different genders and transgender people, all of that. So I really wanted to improve there, and I feel like I didn't nail it yet, but like it's there. I've read one book from a transgender person, one from someone who uses they them pronouns, 2 from a queer person, and 2 from a gender fluid persons. Then when it comes to race, 50% was white, and that was my goal. I wanted to at least 50% not be white. I did hit like 49 at some point, but like it changes all the time every time I had a book. But it stayed around 50%, and I'm really happy with that. Second biggest ethnicity was Black people. So I didn't make this spreadsheet, so I didn't make all of the labels, but Black I treated as African American, and African was people who were born and raised in Africa. 11% was Asian. Then I also had some indigenous people, African, Middle Eastern, Latinx, mixed. But I definitely want to improve a little bit more. Maybe I definitely want to read some South Asian. I'm reading a book from a South Asian author right now, and I really want to read more. If you look at the table, I have read no books from a Mexican author, no books from Pacific Islander author, and no books from South Asian, although I am reading one right now. Then I also tracked author nationality because I just wanted to see, and I definitely read mostly Americans. I wanted this to be maybe a little bit more, spread out. Of course, it's harder for me to read people who are not from English-speaking countries because the books are not always translated, but I definitely could be better. If British authors as well. Like, I'd love to read a bit more from British authors. And then I've got some Canadian. I'm surprised that I didn't read any from Australian author. And then we've got like Sierra Leone, Filipino girl couple, Malaysia, Nigerian, South Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Pakistani, Trinidadian. So those are pretty much the stats I wanted to talk about. I guess this will be the end for the stats section, and then we can just get into like specific books and have a chat about them. So first category, we we have is my top 3 books that I've read in the first half of 2021. These are not in order, but probably my favorite book I read this year was Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. So this book is an adult fantasy. It's a standalone, although it's like a companion with some other series. And this book is inspired by Japanese culture. We follow Misaki, who's a mother, and she's married to this very well-known family. They're family of like warriors and stuff, and they live in this place called Sword of Kaigen because their village is considered to be like a village full of warriors which will protect Kaigen and the country in case of invasion. Misaki used to be a warrior herself when she was younger, and it's kind of a story about duty, honor, family, giving things up for those who you love, like honor, so much honor. I don't know, it was amazing. Surprise, I read this for a video actually, so it was mom character vlogs. I don't really read that many books with moms, so I thought for Mother's Day it'd be a really fun thing to do. And I read this book and I loved it so much. I read it as an ebook. I had to have a physical copy, so I bought it right away. And I was just blown away by the prose and the beauty of the story. It just broke my heart to pieces, and I would highly recommend this to everyone. I think this will be my favorite book of 2021. We'll see if something beats it. I really want to read it, even though I just read it like a couple months back, but it was just such an amazing story. The next book is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. So I actually listened to this one on an audiobook and it was a really good experience. So in this book, it's a YA contemporary. We follow our main character, who's a young black girl who lives who like goes to school with her friends, live with her family, whatever. But her big dream is to become a very not well-known singer and become an artist. And one day she meets this very famous singer who is known in like the hip-hop world and all of that, and he's known as being like a very, very good musician, and he offers to produce her album for her. But this story really is about abuse, men abusing their power. Really, it was kind of inspired by R. Kelly and his case. Yeah, it's a very heartbreaking story, so I would put out content warnings for sexual assault, abuse, manipulation, all of that. It's really, really sad, and the audiobook was really well produced. I really, 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 really like this book. It's difficult, it's hard to read, it's a bit upsetting, and it's definitely not for everyone if you can't handle it. But if you can, it was a beautiful, heartbreaking story that really makes you see how easy it is to be manipulated. My third favorite book I read this year has been Stranger the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So I'm a bit late to this train. It's definitely been popular for years. But if you don't know, Laini Taylor is the author of Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and Stranger the Dreamer is her other series. So this one, be adult or YA, I'm not sure. A fantasy. It's a high fantasy. In this book, we follow Laszlo Strange, who's always dreamed about visiting the city of Weep, which is considered to like be this beautiful city, like thriving civilization until something happened to it and the name was wiped from people's minds and they just know it as City of Weep. And one day he gets a chance to visit it, and it's like a wonderful, beautiful, heartbreaking story that I don't know, I fell in love with it so hard. I need to buy the book, but I don't know, I'm looking for the hardback. It's a whole thing. It's so beautiful. I loved it so much. It was so beautifully written. The characters were just so visceral, and you could just feel like you were in a dream there with Laszlo being amazed. It was so good. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. All the 3 of these were absolutely freaking amazing. So the second thing I want to talk about is my favorite new releases of 2021. So if you don't know, every month I first tell you what books are coming out the next month, and then you can vote on what book you would like me to review, and I do 1 review per month. I reviewed 6 new releases, and I thought it'd be fun to choose 3 of them that I like the most and which I would recommend to you. First book is Witches Steeped in Gold by Sianon Smart. So I was super hyped about this book. It's a YA fantasy. We follow these 2 women who, one of them is a princess, one of them used to be the princess, but the mother of the first one overthrew her mother. So now that she's like a prisoner and stuff, they have to work together to bring down the current ruler, who's a bad ruler. It's really good. It's a Jamaican inspired fantasy. I really love the writing in this. I just love the magic as well. I really like the characters, just how different they were, how it was kind of like morally ambiguous who you're even supposed to root for. I really enjoyed this book. It was so good. I really like my review as well if you want to check it out and learn a little bit more about it, but definitely that one was probably my favorite one. The next book is Ace of Spades by Farida Abika Imide. So this was a very recent one. I actually reviewed it in June. The video is already posted if you wanted to check it out, but this is a YA thriller / mystery, and we follow two black students at this very prestigious independent private school as they get bullied by this anonymous person called Aces. They get texts and they get threatened that their secrets will be revealed, and it's a Gossip Girl meets Get Out. Again, such a good book. I really had a good time reading it. I really enjoyed that it was a thriller, so it's something new, and I would highly recommend it if you would like something really high tension, especially the second half of this book. It's just anxiety upon anxiety, and you just feel like you're there with the characters, and it just felt so real and threatening, and it touched on a lot of interesting subjects such as racism, especially systematic racism, eugenics, all of that really bad stuff, really interestingly discussed. So I would really recommend. The next book is, I couldn't decide, so I just want to mention two books, but we're going to be quick about it. So first one is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. In this one we follow this girl who lives with her tribe, but when she comes of age, she has to be tested, and if her blood runs gold, that means she will die, and if her blood runs red, then she's fine. Story with powerful women. Really loved the friendship elements in this, and I really enjoyed it. I will definitely read the sequel. And then we have Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is an epic high fantasy, and it's inspired by the Viking world, and it's about a world where the gods used to exist but they fought, and it's kind of like the repercussions of that and how the world is dealing. Really well written, really compelling characters, surprisingly, and I just say surprisingly because it's written by a man, amazing female characters with really good complexity. I really enjoyed both of these books. I just wanted to mention both of them, but I don't want to get on because this video will probably be very long. The last thing I want to talk to you about was 3 books that I'm really anticipating in the second half of the year. So all of these are coming out in the second half of the year, and I'm so excited. So the first one is Iron Widow by Ziran Jai Zhao, and this one's coming out in September. And this one I watched the author's YouTube channel. She has really amazing content. You should totally check it out. But this book is based on Chinese history, and I think it's like a retold story of China's only female empress. I think that I can tell you a little bit of the synopsis. When 18-year-old Zitian offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it is to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her vengeance in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link between pilots and emerges from the cockpit unscathed. She is labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up Chrysalis instead. I never read the synopsis, but now I'm very interested. This sounds crazy, okay. The second book I'm very interested for is A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. So this one's coming out in October, and I've read the author's previous 2 books, which was the 10,000 Doors of January and Once and Future Witches, which were awesome, so I'm really excited for this one as well. So I know that this one is a retelling of The Sleeping Beauty, and it says it's Xenia Gray's 21st birthday, which is extra special because it's the last birthday she'll ever have. When she was young, an industry accident left Xenia with a rare condition. Not much is known about her illness, just that no one has lived past 21. Her best friend, Charm, is intent on making Xenia's last birthday special, with a full Sleeping Beauty experience, complete with a tower and a spinning wheel. But when Xenia pricks her fingers, something strange and unexpected happens, and she finds herself falling through worlds with another Sleeping Beauty just as desperate to escape her fate. I didn't read the this was a portal fantasy. So the author's first book, 10,000 Doors of January, is a portal fantasy, and I love that book so much. Like, Once and Future Witches was good, but like 10,000 Doors was so good, so I didn't know this. This sounds absolutely freaking brilliant. I'm so excited. Okay, and the last one, oh my god, these are all my favorite authors. Okay, and the last one is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman, which is coming out in November. I love Amanda Foody. I read Ace of Shades by her, and I always recommend it to everyone who will listen, and you gotta listen now. It says, you fell in love with the victors of the Hunger Games, now prepare to meet the villains of the Blood Veil. After the publication of a salacious tell-all book, the remote city of Ilvernath is thrust into worldwide spotlight. Tourists, protesters, and reporters flock to its sell shops and ruins to witness an ancient curse unfold. Every generation, 7 families name a champion among them to compete in a tournament to the death. The winner awards their family exclusive control over the city's high magic supply, the most powerful resource in the world. So it seems like it's gonna have like the crime and stuff that was in Ace of Shades, which I love so much. So I'm just so excited. So those were all the things I wanted to discuss. You know, it's good to talk stats, it's good to talk where we've been, but also where we want to go, you know, with our reading going forward. I just hope I can bring this amazing energy forward into 2021 as well, because I feel like I've done very well with my reading. I've been enjoying books, maybe not loving all of them, so I want to read a bit more 5 stars. I feel like I've had like a alright amount, but it was nothing special. So I want to read a bit more 5 stars. That's my like, please, please, please. And I want to finish some stupid series because I've been so terrible this year. I'm finishing series, I just start new ones all the time. But let me know how 2021 is going for you so far. I want to know everything. Please let me know how it's been going. What have you read? Okay, tell me your favorite book, your favorite new release, and the most anticipated book for next year, for the second half of the year. Yeah, tell me all these 3 things, please, and tell me how many books you read. Love, tell me all in the comments, please. That's it from this video. If you liked it, if you can comment, like, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Really helps me out. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.